Welcome to the 2 Minute Drill Podcast. I'm Jim Monahan along with Chris Swendeman. And Swendeman, we are talking WBC World Baseball Classic. And you want to talk about a classic series? Boy, did baseball give it to us. We got a seventh game in the middle of March. You don't get that all lot.
No, you don't. And you know what? I'll be the first one to say I was absolutely wrong about this. I went in very ho-hum about it, kind of poo-pooing it a little bit. We had talked off the air about this, and I didn't really have excitement going in. And I've been watching Team USA and some of the other games from the start, and I was watching, their first game and their second game, and I getting more into it and really bummed when they lost to Italy, and when they made it into the next round. And I was like, all right, let's see what they can do. And the more excited I got, the excitement built. And last night, watching the final, I was so into it, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Even tip of the cap to Team Venezuela for the win, but it was so much fun to watch the guys just play like kids and just out there for their country and having fun. And all the teams, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, so many, Japan, all these teams. Italy, I mean, the whole espresso thing took on a life of itself. It was just all these cool storylines. And it was just a lot of fun to watch. And, I think baseball found something here. And, baseball owners and players, MLBPA, take notice. You're at the height of your popularity right now. Own it and keep going. Build on it. Don't screw this up. That's all we have to say as fans.
Baseball had the international stage pretty much to itself. Olympics over. There's no NFL football. We're not close to the hockey or NBA playoffs. I mean, they had the spotlight on them, and I think they delivered an incredible product. And I hate to use that word product, but you know what I mean. It
No,
was
absolutely.
just packed stadiums. The players were into it. You could really tell the fans were into it. And how much did people respond to it? I did not see ratings for the final between Venezuela and the United States, but the USA Dominican Republic game was the most watched WBC game ever. And it was on opposite the Oscars. So it had some pretty stiff competition. So people were really into this. And you were talking about Major League Baseball paying attention. I think they found something that might be able to take the place of the All-Star game, even if it's only every couple of years. I like the All-Star game. It's not what it used to be with all of the interleague play, because now we get to see American and National League players a lot in our respective cities, wherever we happen to be. But look at what the NHL did last year with the Four Nations tournament in place of the All-Star game. Look at what the fan reaction to that was. It was astounding, and the NBA All-Star game is a joke. The Pro Bowl in the NFL has been a joke forever. So you look at the excitement that was generated, and I think if baseball is smart, they will find a way to take this tournament and put it in the middle of the season as opposed to March. As much fun as it was to have a Game 7 in the middle of March, I think if you put this thing in the middle of the season, you've got a blockbuster bonanza on your hands.
And you could also use the argument that guys will be more physically ready for in-game competition at that level than in March, when they're still used to ramping up their bodies at that point. There were a lot of guys used, especially the pitchers. If you look at from a Yankee fan perspective, I was watching very closely how much they were using David Bednar, because he's going to be used in a high leverage role this year in the Yankee bullpen. So you don't want to overtax him. Mason Miller, an amazing lights out closer for the Padres. I mean, he was really being used. So if you have a favorite baseball team and you're watching your guy, you clearly have a stake in watching this. But I think if they do it in place of the Midsummer Classic, I think then guys are more physically ready and able to handle the rigors of this than throwing them in this in March when they're still kind of used to, their bodies are on a clock, and they're, that better than anybody. And to do this to them in March, it's going to throw them off a little bit. You don't want to see anyone hurt this early in the game, especially MLB owners. I'm sure they're not going to want to see their players leave for a couple weeks to play in this World Baseball Classic and then get injured. So I think there's a lot of bonuses to if they moved it to July for sure.
All of the managers of these respective teams who had major league pitchers on their staff were in constant communication with the respective major league teams that these players
Right.
were from to let them know, hey, listen, this is what we're thinking of doing. What are your thoughts on this? And I'm watching Garrett Whitlock, who pitched twice in 48 hours in
Right.
the middle of March. And I'm thinking, in September, August, he's ready for that. And that's not an
Right.
aberration. But in the middle of March, that might be pushing things a little bit. A little different for position players. They get ready differently than pitchers do. But nonetheless, you look at a kid like Kyle Teal, who's going to be
Right.
out for another at
Yep.
least 6 weeks, who gets injured pushing himself because he was playing hard because that
Right.
game meant something to him.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, that kid is going to be a cornerstone for the White Sox this year, and they're counting on him. So now you're going to be without him for, what, maybe 4, 6, possibly 8 weeks with a hammy. And, look at Ed. We were talking about this off air before we get on. Look at Edwin Diaz 3 years ago. That was a huge blow to the Mets.
Huge.
That was a huge blow to their bullpen. And you worry about stuff like that because these guys do go hard and it does mean something to them. Now, I want to pose a question to you, sir,
Okay.
because a lot of talk was made about this in the media. A couple of different big name Major League Baseball players had kind of inferred, not really came out directly and said it, but they said the excitement in so many words. I know Aaron Judge was one of them that had said something about this, kind of alluded to the fact that playing in the World Baseball Classic was as exciting, or even, dare I say, more exciting than playing in or winning the World Series. Now, if you, Mr. Boston Red Sox fan, have the ability to watch USA win the World Baseball Classic or your Red Sox in the World Series winning, which are you going to be more excited for?
I'm probably going to say the Red Sox in the World Series.
Okay.
That said, there is something about wearing your country's name across the front of your jersey that means something. A few years ago, when the United States was in the Olympics in Tokyo, a friend of mine played for the USA team. They won the silver medal that year. And he's played for a number of different major league teams. And I asked him about that. And he said to me that there's nothing quite like putting that USA uniform on. As much of a thrill as it was to walk into a major league clubhouse the first time he got called up and put an MLB uniform on, wearing your team's uniform just hits different. And I think, I was thrilled by the championship game. It was so much fun to watch. Bryce
Absolutely.
Harper goes deep and you're going,
Yep.
yeah, USA, USA.
Yep.
But we live and die with our respective teams for 162 games.
Right.
It's different than a 2-week tournament. But that said, I love what baseball gave us for the WBC. I would love to see them do it in the middle of the season. I really would.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see it. I mean, how can you not be excited watching the USA players come in wearing the USA Olympic hockey jerseys as moment? I mean, I got chills seeing the walk-ins with Judge, walking with Harper and Schwarber and all these guys coming in, Bobby Witt, all wearing the USA hockey jerseys as they walked, into the stadium. That was a really cool moment. I thought there were a lot of great moments. I did say, about the WBC versus World Series. I thought Derek Jeter was very funny on the pregame when he said, anybody who's more excited about the WBC than the World Series clearly hasn't played in the World Series. And he knows a little something about playing in the World Series.
Yes, he
So
does.
I thought that was very funny by him to say that.
And a little bit of New Jersey baseball trivia. When the players walked onto the field for the game, the head of the game, and Aaron Judge has the flag, he handed that flag off to a guy named Duke Baxter. Now, you may not know who Duke Baxter is, but in New Jersey baseball, in terms of like instruction and what have you, he's a
Right.
pretty big name. He's on social media constantly.
Okay.
He has an indoor facility down in the Bridgewater area near where the Somerset Patriots play. And I'm looking and go, that's Duke Baxter. I know that guy.
That's pretty awesome. Now you be imagine, oh, what'd you do with the World Baseball Classic? Oh, I got handed the American flag from Aaron Judge. Just
You know,
I mean, just a little, throw in there, to at parties.
you mentioned Kyle Teal a little earlier. We were talking about him, and he was playing for Italy. And now
Mhm.
Kyle was born in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and
Right.
grew up in Bergen County in Mahwah. His mom is of Italian descent. There's Austin Wells, who's pretty reserved when he's wearing the Yankee pinstripes. Did you see him
I,
on the field with the Dominican Republic team? I mean, he
yep.
was so into it.
Yep.
Austin Wells, one of his parents, where did he grow up? Out in the Midwest somewhere?
Kansas City.
No,
Kansas
no,
City.
that's Jazz Chisholm. Went to
That's
high
just
school in
Chisholm.
Kansas
Okay, yeah,
City.
that's right. That's right.
Arizona. Austin
That's
Wells
it.
is from Arizona. His mom is of Dominican
Right.
descent. But like watching a guy like Austin Wells, who's normally
Yep.
pretty reserved, really
Yes.
getting into it. Chisholm was born in the Bahamas, went to high
Right.
school, as we said, in Kansas City. But because, I don't know, however many years ago, the
Right.
Bahamas were part of Great Britain, that's how he ended up playing for Great Britain. Stuff like that was fun to watch.
It really was. And, the excitement of all the ballpark and the excitement of being able to root for guys you wouldn't normally root for. We always see some of these guys together and still even split up by American or National League. And to be able to root for Bryce Harper and be like you said, yeah, like that game tying home run last night, being able to root for him so hard, and players like Schwarber and Bobby Witt, and as a Yankee fan, when am I ever going to root for Roman Anthony? I mean, I was. When he hit the big home run a couple games ago, I think it's the Dominican Republic when he hit a home run. I was up out of my seat yelling, and I'm cheering for a guy who plays for the Red Sox. But it was fun. And you don't get that somewhere else. You just that doesn't happen, and so it's fun when you're able to take your pro teams out of it and just root for the guys getting excited playing for their country. It was a lot of fun from that aspect.
I have to admit, as a Red Sox fan, watching Aaron Judge, I'm like, I'm pulling for Aaron Judge. I'm like, is this really happening here? Like, come on, Judge, you can tie this thing up here. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, and that's I will say this, and one down, and I'm not taking anything away from Team Venezuela because they deserved to win. Omar Lopez, I thought, did an amazing job with him and his staff of coaching. Salvatore Perez, the catcher for Venezuela and for Kansas City Royals, is going to be a manager one day. Mark it down. This guy is a field manager like nobody else, and they did an amazing job. But I will say, as a Yankee fan, I really hoped this was the time when Judge could have changed the narrative about him in big games. And I think it just added to the narrative that's out there that he plays small in big games. I mean, he is one of the best hitters in baseball.
No question.
There's no arguing. But the best hitters take the opportunity to shine on the biggest stage. And to this point, Judge has never really grasped when that last ring or that last rung that he needs to be on that next level of the all-time greats. And I just wished this would have he would have done something in the final couple games where you could point to and say, look, he's changing the narrative. You can't use that narrative, especially Met fans, because they were all over the place today ripping him about that. I just wished he would have used this as some kind of platform, and really had that spotlight moment because he just did it, and that is a little disappointing as a Yankee fan.
In his defense, it's the middle of March. And I see where
It's
you're coming
true,
from. I
right?
get it. And, as a Red Sox fan, I'm right there. Oh, he failed in the
Oh,
big spot, right? If it comes up, I'll use it. But
I'm sure,
it's the middle of March.
right? Yeah,
If this tournament happens in the middle of the season where the All-Star game would be,
right,
3 years from now, if that's what Major League Baseball decides to do, and they
right.
put it there, that's a totally different set of circumstances.
It is. It definitely is. But you know, players players that love the game and embrace those high points, those big time moments. I, I don't know if you can necessarily use the seasons to say whether they're going to play big or not. They make those moments, and I just wish there was something that as Yankee fans we could hang our hat on, even if USA would have lost anyway. I really did think after the Harper home run, that would have taken some of the pressure off. And I really thought for a second, I'm like, this would be an amazing way for Judge to just leave a mark on this World Baseball Classic by hitting a home run and putting them in the lead. And it wouldn't have been such a high pressure moment, but just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
One of the things that I did want to talk about on this week's episode, and I'm not sure that the keep politics out of sports crowd will like this, but the backdrop of the championship game between Venezuela and the United States.
Mhm.
And I know that the announcers did not touch upon this at all, but it's impossible to not think of everything that happened to that country
Right.
over the past couple of months. And in fact, Oswaldo Cabrera from the Yankees, who's from Venezuela, he was not participating in the tournament, but he was interviewed on Wednesday. And I saw a bit of the interview, and he was talking about everything that my people and my country, everything that they've gone through recently. And he didn't go into a lot of detail. He didn't go
Right.
into, President Trump saying
Yep.
the other day on Truth Social, oh, they'll be the 51st state. I guess we're off Canada for that now. Um,
Well, Canada didn't advance far enough in the World Baseball Classic to be, to elevate past Venezuela, I guess.
but when you think about everything that that country and its citizens have been through, the euphoria, the explosion of emotion after the victory against the United States is totally understandable. And I get it. We use sports, most of us, as a diversion.
Yes.
We don't want to see an NFL player take a knee because we have certain feelings about our players. Our players are for the red, white, and blue, or our players are this, or our players are that. And when they express themselves a certain way that goes against what we may feel, oh, pearl clutching time. And, I use it as a diversion. God knows with everything that's going on right now,
Right.
especially in the Middle East, we're looking for something to take the spotlight off of that and just let me for 3 hours enjoy a baseball game, which is what the announcers did and both teams did in the championship game. I understand that people want to separate them when it's convenient for their political opinions,
Right.
but it's impossible, absolutely physically and emotionally impossible to not consider what Venezuela has been through recently in connection with what happened in the championship game.
All you need to know about what collectively as a country, as teammates, they've all been through together. All you need to know is watch the video of after they were presented with the trophy and they play the Venezuelan national anthem, and every player, every coach, all collected together are singing at the top of their lungs with the biggest smiles on their faces. Watch that video and look at their faces. That is a group of people that are so excited and so proud of where they came from and that big win that they were able to bring their fellow countrymen. And that was a very cool moment, regardless of whether it was USA, Venezuela, or it would have been somebody else. But for Venezuela, for the Venezuelans to go through that and to see them celebrating like that, that was a priceless moment.
So we get baseball in the Olympics in a few years. We get the World Baseball Classic again in another couple of years, 3 years from now.
Yep.
And again, baseball will have the spotlight back on it. The game is alive. The game is very healthy. And you can only hope that these billionaire owners and these millionaire players somehow at the end of this season, one or two of them are the adults in the room saying, listen, there's a lot of money here. We can figure out a way to split this without there being a work stoppage.
They have to. It's never been more popular. I think the last time I felt like baseball had this much of a spotlight was when McGuire and Sosa were chasing each other for the home run race, and Roger Maris's home run record. And it's been a long time since baseball took such a center stage, but I feel like they have it right now. They really have it. And you know what? Like I said earlier, guys, listen, pay attention to what the fans are saying, and that they're showing up at the ballpark, and they packed Lone Depot Park for the World Baseball Classic Championship. Use this as a great platform to elevate the sport, not tear it down because you're arguing over money. That would be the most awful thing you could do right now.
And that wraps another 2 Minute Drill podcast up. You know the drill. If you like us, tell a friend. If you hate us, tell an enemy. Just tell somebody. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of those things, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, Swendeman.
You got it, Jim.